All right, guys, check my feet out right here. My target is right there, just like it's always been. But here's how I'm gonna practice to find out what I'm capable of with this bow. I'm gonna point my feet like I'm shooting that way. And I'm standing on a tiny deer stand. And this deer came out and he stopped 20 yards in the opening, and I drew back. And right before I made my shot, he ran. Oh shit. He's still running. Oh my God. Now I'm on a tiny deer stand. I can barely move. The more I move my feet, the more noise I make. Now I'm almost all the way around, and I gotta make a shot. Now, I can go down there and take a look and see what happened. It's not perfect placement, but it sure killed him. And the reason why is because I know how long I can hold my bow twisted up like that. I know how long I can expect before I'm gonna have to say, well, I can't kill him or whatever. And this was that shot right there. This was the other two. I was aiming this arrow, I was aiming at this knot, so I missed a little bit, but that's pretty forgiving for a bow. Any bow that you can do that with, you're not getting any more forgiveness out of it. What you're gonna get out of it is what you put into it, and that's practice. The more you practice, the better you're gonna get. Another little tip, which I think I've already said this, I've heard a million people say this. Whatever you think your shot's gonna be, if it's 20, practice at 40. If it's 30, practice at 60. If it's 50, practice at 100. That way when you move up there, you'll be surprised how easy it is to hold your pin on that bow, on your target, when you get up there where your average shot is. Another good little practice to do is just a regular normal shot. Don't leave those out. Have your plan. You're sitting in the stand, just like you're hunting. You lean back, you're chilling. You got your arrow sitting down on your bow. You see a deer. It's always a good one to practice, because that's exactly what we want to happen. That's exactly how we laid it out. That's exactly how we planned it. So don't leave those out, but just practice, guys. That one right there was, everything in my world was perfect, and I put that one right in the heart, right where I wanted it. Well, it might not be a heart on a bear. I don't know. I'm not a bear hunter. But it's right where I expected the heart to be on that deer. And I expected him to do what he did. I practiced for it. And when he came out, I executed it. And it was simple. I don't know. That's about all I got right now. I'm pretty tired. But just remember, guys, if you're the most important thing, if you're trying to kill a big mature deer, it don't matter if it's a doe or a buck. Does can be just as bad, is hunt the wind. If the wind ain't right for where your stand is, don't get in it. Get your mobile set up and move it to a spot where it is right. The other really important thing you can do to help you with a lot of success is hunt the weather. If you're lucky enough to be off on those days where, say you get a week off, and your wife says, okay, I know you're taking a week off to hunt, but I need you to do whatever honey does around the house, so give me 2 days. Look at the weather. Whatever 2 days is the warmest, give her those 2 days. Whatever days the temperature is dropping, especially if you can get a 10-degree drop, man, get in the woods. They seem to move really well with a 10-degree temperature drop in early season. Now, when I hunted in Ohio, in the cold states, and it would be 16 degrees, I did the opposite. I hunted the days that it warmed up 10 degrees. Man, the days that it would warm up 10 degrees in the late season, them deer would be out like crazy. I killed several. I don't know, I think I've killed 9 or 10 bucks out of Ohio, and half of them I've killed in late December, hunting warm weather days, because it would be freezing cold. Freezing, like you couldn't hardly stand to sit up in the tree and I not see anything. I go back and hunt when it would be 5 to 10 degrees warmer, and they would just be out everywhere going crazy. So weather has a big impact on it. When it's warm, they like the cool days that hits. They're just like us. You don't want to be in them thick woods with no air moving around. When it's 80 degrees, you're trying to chase does all night, and then it's nice and cool at night, and you're chasing does. Then the next day it gets up in the 80s, and you don't want to be running around chasing does. You're gonna wait till the time is right. You can do it. You can be a lot more efficient at it at night when it cools off. And you may run around and find a few does during the day or try, but you're going to limit your travel because you don't want to use up all your energy that you know you can be more successful at night and cover more ground because it's cooler. But on the days that it drops 10 degrees, you're like, oh man, I can really make some good progress today trying to find me a girlfriend because I'm not going to use near as much energy. It's much cooler. I mean, just like us, deer just like us. They want to put out as least amount of effort as possible and get the most out of it they can. Remember that when you're looking for a big buck, and you put yourself in that buck's shoes and you think like that, and you will be successful, without a doubt. So anyways, that's all I got. I'll catch you guys later. So another good tip is too, when you set up your stand like, hold on a second. Set up your stand so that you don't have to make a lot of movement to shoot. I don't know if you guys can shoot sitting down or not, but for me, I've been really successful. Let me get this thing closed up here. I've been very successful shooting sitting down. So if you see I have a chair here, what I'm going to show you is what I think is very important. I'm expecting, so if I'm sitting in this stand, I'm expecting to see my deer here or here. I'm not expecting him to come out over here. So he comes out over here, I can't shoot like this. I can shoot like that, but look at all that movement I've got to do. I want it to set up with at least an 80% chance that he's coming out on this side, so that when I'm sitting here, and most of the time I hunt is like this, but I want to be able to shoot without having to move around. I don't want to have to stand up. I want to be able to draw back. Now I can shoot all of this area with ease. About right here is when I start getting too uncomfortable. So, but from here around, it's your gravy. So set your stand up where your main shot is from here to here. Now, if he does come out over here, obviously you want to practice being able to shoot like that, and I'll show you that here in just 1 second. Let me go grab this arrow. And I know I mentioned before too, like before season, stop shooting at dots. Start shooting at 3D targets where you got to aim where you want to kill your deer. Which I don't have a deer right now. I have this little bear, and I have him kind of quartering too. And there's a shot I just made from sitting down. That's what I call perfect. So Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn that chair around and show you what I would have to do is if he did come out on the other side, or maybe he'd come out where I wanted him, but something spooked him and he ran. Or maybe he come out chasing the doe on the right angle, but she's in a frenzy, running in circles, and she gonna got him over on the other side of me. So now he's on the off side of my chair. So I got my chair turned around like this. All right. Now he came out where he was supposed to. He came out where he was supposed to. He came out right there, but now he's ran around to here. And before I even had a chance to get drawn, or maybe I did get drawn, now I got to figure out how to shoot him with over there, and I can't stand up and move all around because he, there's him and there's another doe, or maybe there's two or three and there's too many eyes. So what I want to be able to do is, I want to be able to, I seen him, and I drew down on him. Now he's moved around. I want to be able to practice turning around like this and shooting. And make sure that I can make a kill shot like that. Because the only thing that I have control of when I go hunting is how good of a shot I am. And most of my shots are set up for 20 yards. So like right now I'm shooting from 30 in that chair. But again, I practiced it enough that I just smoked it. I had to spin around and make my shot, but I just heart shot him. That's because I practiced it all the time. And the only way to get better at complicated shots is practice complicated shots. What I had to do is just what I talked about on your facial pressure. Your bow hand and your anchor point will make you or break you. Practice those two things. Make sure you don't grip the bow hard, and make sure that string barely touches your face every time. It doesn't matter what form you have, what angle you're at. You want to make sure that your bow, your string, is barely touching your face. Or maybe, I got this thing loose. Maybe it's maybe you're not barely touching your face, but you have your bow tuned that way. Make sure you do it the same way every time. Now, I like to shoot with my thumb button right now, but I always keep my index on here in case I need it when I'm in the woods. But I'll sit there with my thumb button on here because I have a better controlled shot with it. But if that deer comes in and he's acting a fool, and I don't want to be pulling through. I want it to go off when I want it to go off. I will pop this off, stick it in my pocket, hook this on here, and now I can fire it when I want to fire it. People can say what they want, but being able to fire when you want to fire, being a command shooter and being able to do it accurately, that's hard to beat. It's hard to beat. I've heard many pros say that. But just make sure that you practice your grip. Go through your little shot sequence. That's my grip every time. I'm not holding on to my bow whatsoever. I bring my string up to the edge of my nose. And I pull through my shot. I don't do all this crazy stuff because from here to here, that's my pull through, from here to here. Any of this other crap, all this, that's nonsense. They're doing that on purpose because they want to do that. Maybe it helps them shoot better. If it does, keep doing it. But once you've pulled through your shot and your release has disconnected from the bow, however far your arm moves on its own, that's your shot. That's all you need to worry about. What works best for you is what works best for you. You can practice shooting like Levi Morgan all day long, but there's not very many of us. Well, I don't know any of us that's going to shoot like Levi Morgan, no matter how much we practice. If you can, whoo, you are the man. John Dudley, he's another one. We can practice all that schooling knock, and we're probably never going to be as good as executing a shot as John Dudley. So you do what them guys tell you to do. You practice the way they tell you because they know. But as you're doing that and you learn your shot process, and your shot process is working for you, then you stick to that shot process. Don't be trying to change it just because you think you need to look better when you make a shot, or you think you need to look like somebody else on YouTube or TV when they're shooting. You need to look like you look when you never miss. Because it doesn't matter if I want to be fancy like this. The shot landed in the exact same place as it does when I just do my regular shot process. And none of that stuff helped me whatsoever. What helps me is I get the same grip every time, I get the same anchor point every time, and I execute the same every time. We'll go look at those two arrows and I'll show you the difference between my regular shot and my fancy arm follow through. And I'm not doing this to be picking on people. I want real life bow hunting situations for real life people to see what the real life difference is. And let me show you my shot process from one of their fancy ones. I mean, come on guys. Do what works good for you. I've been shooting bow since I was about 16 years old and I'm 51. My very first bow I paid $50 for was a Whitetail 2 in a pawn shop. I hunted for 3 years and didn't kill nothing. Missed everything I shot at. It was a junky bow, but I don't think I sold it. I don't know what happened to it. I ended up with a PSC that I bought from a guy for $250 with a case and everything. Killed my first deer. When it went off, it had an overdraw on it. When it fired, it sounded like a 22 rifle. But all my stand setups were like 15-yard shots. I would hunt a specific trail. I still hunt specific trails. I don't hunt an area where I've got 15 different shots. I'm not hunting 150 yards. I don't want to see a deer unless he's in range, unless I'm doing a scouting sit. Once I've found that deer and I know where he's living, I know where his does are that he's checking, and I know where he's eating in between, I don't want to see him no more. I don't need to see pictures of him on the camera. I don't need to see him 200 yards away making his way to me. I need to see him 15 steps from the bottom of my tree on that trail that I have predicted that he's going to come on, with my bow drawn back and my pin on his heart. Pop! Got him. That's how I like to set it up. Just practice, guys. It's practice, practice, practice. Every bow that you buy right now, every single bow you buy right now is forgiving. People talk about making their bow more forgiving. We can't shoot a 3-inch group at 100 yards consistently. Not the regular person. We're not Olympic archers. We're not professionals. So the forgivingness that they're talking about and they're working on, they're only going to see, and if you can shoot that good, we're never going to see it. The brace height, they say the longer the brace height, the more forgiving. Yeah, but I'm telling you, every bow right now is forgiving. I mean, every one of them. Now, back in the day, maybe it made a difference. Look at this bow, for instance. It's 27 inches, axle to axle. I shoot this bow better than I shoot my 34-inch Traverse that I had, or my 34-inch Reckoning that I have right now. They're all forgiving, guys. There's nothing that's going to make them better or worse for you except practice. That's it. Every bow that is made today, you can pick it up within 5 minutes. You can have it dialed in, and you can be shooting 1.5-inch groups at 40 yards if you practice. That's it. That's what makes a bow more forgiving, is you and the way you shoot it and the way you practice with it. If you practice every single shot standing up with a perfect case scenario, your feet are squared off, you're looking at the target, you draw it back, you go through your shot process, you take your time, you practice it over and over, your pin's floating, you squeeze the trigger, then that's the forgiveness that you're going to get out of your bow. That's all you're going to know about your bow. So what you want to do is you want to take that bow. You want to turn your you want to point your feet in the opposite direction of where you're shooting. Let me show you real quick. All right, guys. So a lot of times what happens to us is deer we want to kill comes out. We're sitting our stand, we get excited. We draw back and we don't have our shot. Everything's perfect right now, but we don't have our shot. And we end up sitting there for a long time. Next thing you know, we're looking like this, we're trying to watch the deer and we're moving around, and what you end up doing is you end up twisting this hand. Look what happens to this string when I twist this hand. Whoops. Look what happens to my D-loop and my bowstring when I twist this hand around. It changes. What that does is that causes left and rights, or bad arrow flight. So when you get drawn back and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting and things aren't going right, or maybe you hold like this and you're waiting and you're waiting, when you get back up, don't forget to reset this hand, reset your anchor point to where you need to be before you make that shot. It happens to me when I'm shooting in the wind and I'm using a thumb button. I start getting into my face real bad, and I have to remind myself to reset my anchor so that I don't mess it up. It's really bad when you use like a handheld. You can just see how much movement you put in that bowstring when you twist the handheld around. So get set in there, watch your deer, do whatever you're going to do. Practice sitting there like this, waiting. Because once you draw back, it's hard to let down and then redraw back without making noise. And then get up in there, just remember to reset yourself. And then take your shot. Practice that a lot. Hold that bow back. One thing that a lot of people don't practice, that we should practice, is letting our bow down. A lot of times you get drawn back on something and you can't make the shot, and you have to let down. If you don't practice, what you end up doing is that's a lot of movement, that's a lot of jerking. What you need to be doing is practicing letting down nice and easy, just like that. I forget to practice it all the time, but it's a good thing to practice as easy as you can. Because if you get drawn back and then you don't practice that, and remember, you're not warmed up in the tree stand, you're cold, you've been sitting there, your body's tight. When you go to let down, you may not do it real good. And if you don't, then there's a good chance you can scare that deer.